The storm, it rose, and unfortunately, gentlemen, a very heartbreaking and somewhat shocking end to a magical ride, which was the 2024-2025 St. John Red Storm basketball season. Shawnelle Scott, Tyrone Grant, you were both there. This was as stressful as it comes from a fan standpoint, and I was just watching on television, so I can't imagine what it was like to be there in person. I can't imagine what it's like to be the staff, the kids, the proud alum. Can both of you take us through what went down yesterday as the St. John's magical ride ended with a 75-66 loss in the second round in Providence against Arkansas?
We can say a lot of things about what went wrong yesterday. I mean, but it was a heartbreaker because we expected so much for obvious reasons. The whole Arkansas team, shout out to them and their coaching staff, because they did keep their foot on the gas. I mean, Arkansas played well. We played horrible. At the end of the day, I mean, it didn't matter how well Arkansas played. We just played 10 times worse and way below our standards. I mean, yeah, the shooting was off, but we've been there before. I mean, we won 30-something games. We've been there. We've been there before with the shooting, but what killed us was the 50-50 balls, the offensive rebounds. Those nitty-gritty points that we're accustomed to get, we were not getting them, right? And, you know, again, bad shooting happens, but as a team, we have to be able – we should have been able to adjust and have everyone else pick it up. I mean, Kadari's 5 fouls, 4 fouls, 3 fouls, 2 fouls was just horrible. But again, I'm in the business of where, as Shawnelle stated before, stars star, right? That's the business I am. I'm not the regular fan, even though I'm a super fan right now for St. John's, but stars star. And in those moments, our stars didn't star. So, you know, in my opinion, we lost the game, and Arkansas took advantage of it. Very, very heartbreaking for a super fan / ex-player.
I don't know where to start at, but I would say this, man. It was just, first of all, it was a fantastic season. You know, we cannot take away what this program gave us this year, as far as like the unity, bringing everybody together. New York City, St. John's alumni, St. John's fans. You know, they brought us together, and that's something that's priceless. We can't ever forget about that. Yesterday's game was, you know, for people like me and Ty, it wasn't good. You know, it wasn't good for us. It was a bad feeling for us. You know, we definitely had higher expectations for this team, only because of the success they had this season. So their success gave us higher expectations. Within this game, it was something that I always was cautious about, as far as like starting off like very slow or starting off marginal. And at this state of the season, especially in the NCAA, you know, you can't start off slow and then, you know, expect to have whatever happened in the past happen in this one game. So we start off marginal. It wasn't the worst, but it definitely wasn't the best. And that never changed the whole game. You could talk about you know, I'm hearing all these different things about what people are saying, but, you know, I don't know what it was, but the guys, we just couldn't impose our will on Arkansas, and Arkansas was the aggressor the whole game. It was even one point in the game, a couple of points of the game, when I was telling Todd, yo, they thumping us up, man. They thumping us up, because they was hitting us you know, just on that aspect. They were just hitting us, thumping us, fouling us hard. Some calls, some not. And we just didn't have enough to win this game. You know, we lost the game by 10 points, but you start off slow, you start off marginal, you start off with lesser energy that's needed, and sometimes you cannot recover from that. And, you know, that's why we lost yesterday. And we could go into all the details. I don't know even know if we have enough time, but, you know, the energy wasn't there for whatever reason. And, you know, we paid for it. And it wasn't there the whole game. It wasn't there consistently enough to win.
You know, when you lose a heartbreaker and you play well, that's one thing. You lose a heartbreaker and have a season end like this with a poor performance, that's something else. And statistically, and I think we're all aligned here, like you can use stats and analytics for certain things. This is one of the strangest statistical games I've seen in a long time. Zuby played incredible. I believe he finished with 23 points, 12 rebounds, 8 of them offensive rebounds. The team shoots 21 of 75 from the floor, which is 28%. They're 2 for 22 from three, as executive producer Ruben Rivera checking in on the text thread. Pardon the beeps. 2 for 22 from three. 44 fouls between both teams, which I think really hurt the rhythm of the game. It obviously hurt St. John's more than it hurt Arkansas. And then, as you both alluded to, when your best players are really struggling from the floor, and it almost looked like they were in a bit of a mini coma out there because they couldn't believe how tough it was. So my question for you guys is, when things are not going well in terms of shots not falling, but you're still in the game because of your defense, you're still in the game because of your offensive rebounding, where do you go when the season is on the line?
Just reflecting back on my team is that you always had at least one or two alpha males on the team, meaning that you had the guy that will cuss you out and you wouldn't take it personal. See, this whole new generation and this whole new having players for 1 year, you're going to see some issues when it comes to who's the guy who's going to get the team together, because the coaches did what they were supposed to do. I'm almost 100% sure that the coaches prepared the way they were, they usually prepare for us to win. There's a reason why St. John's won over 30 games. But at some point, right, you need someone on the court to cuss everybody ass out and to hold people accountable. And that usually causes a reaction, right? I didn't see that in the game. Actually, I didn't see that all season. I've been telling Shawnelle that all the time. I said they got a good team, but who's the alpha when it's needed? And people tend to forget that, and that shit is valuable. We were lucky enough to have four of us, right? That's why we had so many team fights without any animosity during the game, right? It kind of like transcended into us respecting each other, where that we held each other accountable. I mean, shout out to Mike Jarvis and the way he coached us. He managed us, right? He managed us a great way. I still think you need that important factor in it. And I saw that at the game during some crucial times. Yeah, Zuby may have spoken to RJ, but if you're not really getting up in front of your top player's face when they're making boneheaded mistakes over and over again, you can't wait to that time when we losing in this win or go home type of situation. The reactions could be anything. You don't know what to expect. Those guys, this is the first time those guys been in that position. You know what I'm saying? And that pressure, and we had the crowd on our side, that pressure is something else. So those young men, I hope, learn a valuable lesson in the game of basketball, because pressure busts pipes, and it bust our pipes yesterday. And I'm hoping they learn from. That's what I get from it. I hope they learn from that, because Rick been there 1,000 times. The staff been there quite a few times. All right, so now those guys learn for the next run.
And Todd stated an excellent summary about that, as far as just like how you got to be in learning, these important basketball values. When things are not going well, and I hope these kids learn from this as well. I hope they get this message. If anybody see it, when things are not going well and nothing is going right, shooting not going right, it's important to raise your level of intensity and focus, especially on defense. And I know yesterday, just watching, I'm just talking about the defensive end. There was a lot of statistics we could go over with offense, but statistically, I mean, as far as defense is concerned, there were many lapses that were definitely in our kids' control, and simple lapses where it ended up being an open layup or just an open three or offensive rebound. Just those things alone, and you have to raise the level of intensity in a one elimination game, especially in the NCAA, and especially because you've endured and persevered in the past. You've been down a lot of points in high stakes games where you came back and won those games. So for whatever reason, for this game, that wasn't there, and you would think we would get blown out yesterday.
Especially with the offensive statistics.
Yeah, that shows the testament of our team and our defense and how good we can be, but just by not getting blown out. But you can clearly see it was a lack of focus and some energy on the court in them four lines that no coach has a control of, That's all about the players, and I doubt that any of those players did it and on purpose in any way. It just was not there, and you can't win a big time game like that. It's high stakes. The other team is just as athletic, and they have a good coach and a good coaching staff on that side as well. You know, and you just have to just raise the level of intensity and focus on defense.
Crazy to think 28 offensive rebounds, 5 steals, which gets them up to 33 extra possessions. They only had 6 turnovers. So you do the math, you got 27 extra possessions in the game, and the shooting was just, they could never get anything going. They did take a brief lead in the second half at one point, but Arkansas had a
Yeah.
response every time. And I've got to say, I'm listening to the game, watching the game, and you've got Kadari Richmond on the bench for St. John's in foul trouble, and then you've got Billy Richmond in the game for Arkansas, and he was a huge difference maker. 16 points, 9 rebounds, lefty freshman.
Was that?
Um,
Oh yeah.
played, I mean, had just big moments for Arkansas, and as you both said, besides Zuby, and Smith played very well, just as far as penetrating, attacking, and at least being an aggressor, uh, pushing the action when everybody else seemed to be moving in slow motion. But Arkansas just they got performances despite also being in foul trouble from a
Hey,
number of their
E, I
guys.
was I
Go
was
ahead.
telling Ty yesterday. This is sorry. I was real quick. I was telling Ty yesterday that kid, this lefty kid, is just he's killing us. Like he's all over the place. His energy was
Hmm.
something that he separated himself from. Basically everybody that was on the court. Which I mean, of course, it helped Arkansas. So I mean, that's a
Yeah,
good assessment right there.
and it wasn't like St. John's wasn't playing hard, right? But when the
Mhm.
shots aren't falling, you've got to figure out other ways to win. Yes, they had 28 offensive rebounds, but the guys who really struggled from the floor, it did seem like it affected them just being in the mix like Billy Richmond III was for Arkansas. Maybe that's just me, but
I could
it just felt like the misses kept piling up, and it started to really affect them mentally on the floor.
I could live with the missed threes. I could live with the missed threes. The good shots, I could live with them. But the missed attempts, the layups, like close to the basket, that's a tough one to swallow. And the mental lapses, that's also a tough one to swallow. And that's why we couldn't come up with that win.
But that's the pressure we're talking about, though. You know what I'm saying? Those young men felt that pressure. Again, you need your supportive team to embrace you guys and bring you guys in, and it has to be that voice sometimes for that pressure. So we can analyze what we didn't accomplish, but we could learn from that as well. That's where leadership comes in. Why do you think leaders on teams is so valuable? You know what I mean? Yes, that young man from Arkansas played exceptional. He did all the dirty work. He did the shit that we usually do, right? He did everything that our players usually do. I mean, shout out to our freshman players from abroad, Lefty and Pre.
Ruby Doobie Doo. That's what I
Right.
call him.
They,
Ruby
they
Prey.
they came in there and worked their ass off and gave us something that at least our stars should have came and picked up after. So shout out to them. That's why I think the sky's the limit with what Patino has going on, because those guys are coming back, right? We know those guys are coming back. I'm not saying they're going to be superstars, but they did what they had to do and they showed no fear. So shout out to those young players who came in and took full advantage of the opportunity. But as far as just looking back at the game, I'm a live and die by the statement that Nell created about 2 shows ago. Stars have to star. We can overanalyze and look at everything. It has to be a point where we give the flowers and the roses and the Bentleys to the superstars all day, every day, baby. But at the end of the day, they got to be stars. That's why there's a difference, especially when you speak to former players when it comes to dudes that were pretty good and dudes that were nice, right? The nice dudes showed up on a bad day. You know what I'm saying? So we have to always look at these young players like that, because they're not young, teenagers, and they're young men. And again, I hope they learn the value of the lesson when it comes to this game. This shit could be over, and it's over for them right now. But I'm saying that to say that I'm trying to take a lot of positive out of this and the expectation going forward. And the expectation is that the experiences the younger players receive this year can carry over where that we won't have such an issue going forward next year. And I know that next year starts tomorrow because that's when the portal opens.
I'm gonna say this too, as far as, so first thing, our star, right? I've been saying this to our executive producer Ruben for a decade. So we used to play the the video games, and I used to be like star, because we be going at it, and our best players, be doing a lot of damage. But I just want to say this, like RJ Lewis, he's had a fantastic season this year, fantastic season. Gave us a lot. First team All Big East Player of the Year, second team All American, right? And at games like this, you look forward to those players, just doing what they've been doing all season, But I hope he learns. Like, look, man, I'm a very good basketball player, excellent basketball player, but I hope he always has in his head that I got to get better. I got to be better. Um, I was capable of leading my team better, and I'm just going to work on my game and get better. And I don't care where he goes, if he stays, if he goes to the NBA, if he whatever he does, whatever he decides to do, if this gets out to him, I just hope that he just looks in himself eternally. New York still loves you, my man. You had a bad game, but you just know that you want to get better. You want to consistently get better, no matter what. You never should stop thinking that you don't have improvement to go until you retire. So just have that in your head. Be humble. And, this is not the end of the world. It sucks. But, I hope he learns, being our star. Like, I hope he learns, like, a valuable lesson. And just how he can be the player we want him to be in a most important situation like yesterday.
So obviously, this is not the college basketball world that you both played in. This is not the college basketball world of
Nope.
several years ago. So if an RJ Lewis has the year he had this year as a junior, 9 times out of 10, he's putting his name in the draft. He's going to the league. But things are different now. So as we look, and Ty, you said it perfectly, the season starts on Monday, March 24th, because that's when the portal opens. So as we look ahead to the foundation that has been laid here, we look ahead coming off of a 31-win season, a Big East regular season championship, a Big East tournament championship, a first-round win. Who is back on this team next year? And what is the foundation of this group for 25-26 before players transfer in from the portal and, of course, any high school recruits join the program?
Great question, right? And your guess is as good as mine. But I think the foundation started with the program itself. You know what I'm saying? I think the success and everything that came with being 31-4 or 31-5 is the foundation. And the way college basketball is, I don't think the foundation now is so much on your recruiting class. I think it's who the school is and what they can afford to play with. And I don't think that's an issue or going to be an issue with St. John's. Just as someone that's quote unquote close to the program, I know we're turning back really good players for superstars right now at this point. So my expectation is that the recruitment and the replacement of such great players, depending on who leaves, who goes, I'm confident enough in Matt and the whole coaching staff that we're going to get who we want to get in order to do better than we did last year. You know what I mean? This year, I'm sorry. And that's a tall task because we New Yorkers and we suffer with the Knicks and our expectations. And because of the business of college basketball, I think our fans are going to go through this with St. John. I think because of Rick and the staff, we have a better opportunity than the Knicks winning the championship. Shout out to the Knicks and Ruben. But like I said, I think that the expectations now with players coming in and what New York City brings to a player, I think it's going out the roof where that we can have our pick of the litter. Because the NIL contract, outside of the outrageous amount of money that some of these average Joes receive, I think that that's not our issue. Our issue is not how much this person, how if we can afford this person. No, we want to know if this person is a superstar who can fit into the St. John system, who can work with Patino and his staff, and who can take the pressure of being great in New York. This shit ain't easy. That's why we don't have that many people we really like. This shit is hard to be successful in New York because you could go to the bodega and get criticized by somebody for 45 minutes while you waiting for your sandwich or some shit. So yeah, I for me, this amazing season unfortunately came to an end, but it kind of catapulted us into our potential next season, and that's where I stand with the exit interview for this 31-5 St. John's basketball team.
Ty struck the nail with a big hammer. Big hammer. We have no idea, as close as we are around the program to the program, we have no idea with our staff who's going to come in, who's going to leave. We have no true idea. But the biggest thing is that we propelled ourselves into a platform like never before, or in this new system that has emerged as far as the NIL and the transport portal. We put ourselves, we separate ourselves to another level where we are once considered like the destination for some of these young men to come to, and because of just the coaching staff, the success, we fell short, yes, but the success was historical this season. It was historical. Let's not, it's the first team to ever won the Big East regular season conference championship and a tournament conference champion. I mean, that's never been done before. Like, if you'd have asked us or told us before the season if we can attain that, we'd have been jumping for joy. Just to make it to the second round, we'd have been jumping for joy. You know what I'm saying? So we haven't experienced it. So we've propelled ourselves through excellent coaching, excellent play on the court, the character of our kids, the notoriety that we receive, it was always there for us to receive. It was just waiting for us. But now it's here. So it's almost like we're in a much better place than we was before the season or the end of last season. We're in a much better place than we were in decades.
Right.
A decade.
Right.
I don't know how you can describe it. That's the way I feel about it. So
Decades.
that's the beautiful part about it. We didn't go far, but we propelled ourselves to where kids will want to come here. Kids are going to be in a portal. They're going to want to come to St. John's. They have great coaching. They're great. Great. You have great views at St. John's in New York City. So, just a great environment of basketball. Madison Square Garden. All the eyes are on you. Macy's window, as Coach Connors used to say. Macy's window. Everybody's watching. Macy's window on the holidays. So that's a good feeling right now. It sucked yesterday. Trust me. Me and Ty driving back.
Hell of a 3 hours.
Experience.
Hell of a 3 hours.
Experience some difficulties. But it's definitely when you really think about it and you start to reflect, we're definitely in a better place as far as how much we can improve from this year's team into next season.
So you both know what it's like to play in the tournament. You both know what it's looked like to have the thrill of victory, the heartbreak of defeat. You both know what it's like to play your last game at St. John's. So, two-parter for the guys exiting who left everything out there. What's the message you send to them? And to the guys who are either definitely coming back or need to reflect and make some decisions and then make the best decisions for themselves and their family about their future. What do you say to them when they look in the mirror here after, again, a 31-5 season, a Big East regular season championship and Big East conference championship, and the first NCAA tournament win since 2000?
So two-part question. Excellent question. The first part for the guys who was leaving, right? I spoke to a couple of them yesterday, in which I said, this is probably going to hurt for a week, but now the selfish part comes into play. What do I mean by that? When you transition from a college athlete into the professional realm, everything is about you 10 times more. Because nobody really cares. Nobody cares. Your competition has just... You're now in competition with 30-year-old vets. You know what I'm saying? You're not in competition with college kids anymore for no opportunities. The opportunities now are against guys who are at your level and better, who wants an opportunity to make money playing basketball. When the money game is involved and they have an opportunity to make money playing basketball, the level of competition goes up tenfold. So I tell a lot of those guys that are leaving that once you look back and reflect on the great time you had as a student, quite a professional student athlete that I call him now, get over it because the real world is knocking at your door. I think Portsmouth, I'm not sure if he is, but people like Kadari and Smith probably getting an invite to Portsmouth was just in like 10 days or something. They got to prepare for that shit. They got to get off this boat and become even better because nobody cares. There's not going to be a Rick Pitino, Talik Brown sitting down with you trying to figure out what's wrong if you have something that's bothering you. No. Professional sports is a whole different level, right? The guy who's your teammate is probably trying to take your spot in order for him to feed his family. So it's a bigger chase. And these guys, the fastest, I was fortunate to have Zindon, Shawnelle, Felipe, and some of the other older guys, Red Autry, who was around the program, who weren't from St. John's always, but around the program, who always prepped me for that day. When that season ends, you're a professional if that's what you want to do, right? But you have to go take the opportunity to become professional. And that's what some of these guys think. They think it. If you don't have people telling you, obviously you wouldn't know what it takes. But those guys prep. That's why we're trying to establish a network to support these young men as they move on during St. John's and when they move on. So they know. They can't say they know. Me, I couldn't say I didn't know what it takes. Right? I couldn't say. As far as for the returning players, I think that taste of losing and being very close and losing should propel them to have an amazing summer. So 1998, we lost a heartbreaker in the first round, right? Terrible. We lost. Zindon, Felipe was gone. Ron, myself, Chudney Gray, Bootsy, all of us looked at each other like, nah, we winning this shit next year. And literally, as our off-season workouts started, our expectations started for the following year. Again, I don't know these kids' personalities now is a little bit different, but knowing that I was going to have 5 to 6 of my teammates back and we tasted this shit, we know what comes with it, we know how much times we go be on Jimmy Fallon and all this other shit, the expectations. We're trying to be the best we can be starting on Monday. Not only that, but whoever comes into the fold, our expectations for them remain the same. Albert Richardson came from the number 1 ranked junior college to St. John's. As soon as he walked in, he already knew what type of time we was on for us going into the season. All those new guys. So it's again, it's different now, but outside of what the coaches and the support system, including Jill and everyone has for the team, their expectation, it starts from within. That's the players. That's the dedication of the players. And that's what I always inform these players. You learn when you lose. Don't take it as a loss and your life is over. You learn from it and you move on. And hopefully these young men and these young players who are coming back learn and move forward.
I'm going to transcend back from my sophomore year to my junior year. Right, we lost in the NCAA, and Lou Carnesecca retires. Nobody knows what's going to happen with St. John's. This is a different type of situation because Lou Carnesecca is no longer here. My suggestion to the players who are coming back is have a plan. You know, if you're coming back, it's everything. You know, you're coming back and everything. Have a plan. Be organized, and put that hard hat on and get your work regimen in. And it has to be different phases and get better. You know what you need to do. You're probably talking to the coaches. You know what you need to do. And a lot of it has to come from you, the player, and not the coaches. Yeah, the coaches have workouts set up and all this stuff like that. But I'm just thinking back to my, in between my sophomore and junior year where I just basically was working out and doing something every single day. And Coach Mahoney told me, you need to be doing something every day to better yourself. And be organized, have a plan. It's not going to happen by just working out, lifting weights, or just going to the gym, skills shooting. You have to do a bunch of things. I was working out with professional basketball players at the age of 19 years old for the entire summer. I was lifting weights. I was doing everything. I was doing alternative training, but I was doing everything to get better. And and I was seeing it. I was seeing it like every week, the improvement in my body and my speed and my conditioning. And when I came back my junior year, I ended up having a great junior season, with the leader being David Kane. So you have to really look at yourself, and you can't be thinking about what people saying and all these different things. You just have to get better internally. The coaches will be there to support you. We have a great coaching staff, workouts. Okay, that's cool. But what are you doing to get better on your own? What other resources are you seeking to improve yourself? And that has to be the mindset. Now, as far as the players that are leaving, you really have to ask yourself, do you want to be a professional basketball player? Because just like Tyrone said, it's not easy at all. I played in the NBA. I made it to the NBA through the grace of God. I played overseas. I was lucky to have a 12-year professional basketball career, but it wasn't easy. It never is easy. Nothing is easy. Nobody's going to give you anything. Like Ty said, you got guys, you could be cool with them. You be going to eat with them. They want to take your spot. It's a lion's den. And especially when it involves the NBA, it's a lion's den because it's a dime a dozen of everybody at every position. And you have to separate yourself. And it's not easy. So you have to figure it out. And, leaving school, it was a scary moment for me when my last game was over. It was scary. And I was hurt my last 5 games. I tore a ligament in my thumb. But when that last, I think it was the NIT tournament we made, when that buzzer sounded and I was done, it was a scary feeling. And then I was on my own. Yeah, of course, people supported me and remember me, but all the work and the planning has to come for you. And once again, you have to be organized. You have to be deliberate. You have to be calculated with your workouts and everything. You have to really say to yourself, do you want to be a professional basketball player? And I knew I didn't, but at that time, I didn't make the NBA right away. I didn't know if it was going to work out. And so I had to really look at myself. I had to look into my soul and see and realize it was there. And I was very pleased when, as everything started to work out, but it was a lot of hard work. It was a lot of working out on my own. I mean, just to give you an example, like when I left St. John's, just right up until I made it to the NBA, man, I was riding a bike like 3 to 5 miles a day. I was running on the track at St. John's, 2 to 3 miles for a warm up. I had a conditioning program that I was doing on my own. I had a weightlifting program that I was doing on my own, and then we would play or I have a game in a tournament, and it was a lot. And I'd be exhausted at the end of the day, and the next day you get up and you do it all over again, and then you do it all over again, and it sucks. But if you love it, if you really love it, and you want it, and you want something, you will definitely do it. And that's the one thing I can say like about myself is like I'm pleased that I love the game, and that's why we're here right now. Even with this podcast, we're trying to give back. Hopefully, this information that me and Ty are talking about can help some of these young players and help anybody who sees this, who wants a career in basketball and who wants to get better at whatever they're trying to do.
Obviously, you guys are both a wealth of information because of your personal experiences through the game, not just at St. John's, but before, during, and after. Were you guys back at all early in the season to be around the team, speak to the team? Talk us through that, and then share what you think the alumni, such as yourselves and guys who came before you and after you, can continue to give back to these players. Because from what I've seen from whether it's NBA teams or different college or high school programs, the more engaged you have your basketball alumni, the more the current players know that they care and they're carrying the torch, the more effort and passion you're going to get out of the current players. So what's it been like in terms of plugging in for you guys, practice, being mentors and things like that? And how do you see that moving forward going into next season?
I was around at the very beginning of the season, even during the summertime, and I didn't speak to the team as a whole in any way. Because I really don't want to like impose my being upon them because it's enough that they have to go through already. But I have spoken to some of the players. I mean, everything was, you look good. We was at the workouts. I noticed, we're probably going to have a solid team, and we end up having a great team. But yeah, I definitely was around speaking to some of the players, and it's very important to have former players, speaking, alumni speaking to present players. It's like looking into the future, right? We were there. We went through everything. It's nothing that these kids have went through. I mean, except for the Big East tournament. I think Ty got that anyway. But it's nothing. It's like looking into the future. We've been there. We went through everything they went through, and why not have somebody that's part of the program just giving you assistance and consultation? It helped me a lot. You know, I had great players: Walter Berry, Mark Jackson, Jason Williams, Malik Sealy was like, I had all these great players that was constantly in my ear, like every time, like telling me stuff, and all those things stuck with me. So it's very important.
We as alumni, especially many of us who've had the opportunity to make money playing basketball, should show our face more on the campus. I'm your perfect example. I was more on the consultant business side, speaking to guys rather than pouring into the kids directly. I would text some of the coaches my opinion, which was amazing communication throughout the city about some of the players. And again, it's a different world because these players have so many people in and out of their ear. But again, they have to make a commitment to becoming great. And having alumni and listening to alumni and alumni actually humbling you that, listen, you are a good player, but you ain't better than me, motherfucker. That's very important in these communications. I think the coaches would allow us to do that when possible. And yeah, I mean, they look for me to get more of the alumni involved, and I will probably do that more in the off season. Once the team is established, or even just when guys are in town, just get them a ride or a car service to go speak, go see the team, show their face on campus, because the campus themselves loves that. You know what I mean? They love seeing Shawnelle, Ron Artest, Bootsy Thornton, if they're around, come on the campus. But we have to kind of get more involved with the kids, because in retrospect, I remember the benefits of seeing Shawnelle, Malik Sealy, Chris Mullin, and practicing with them or listening to them give a little bit of advice that goes a long way. You know what I'm saying? One of the things that Walter Berry used to tell me was that the less I talk and the more I score, the longer the defender feels that he's guarding. Like simple shit like that. And I used to remember that because that helped me so much after St. John. I think for me, for example, I think Shawnelle and those guys prepared me for the professional life while I was at St. John's. Not even knowing how good I was, but seeing those guys and those guys busting my ass, or if I have a good game in the summer in the auxiliary gym playing against them, that shit was like a complete boost of energy and confidence. So yes, we have to, as alumni, find some time to go down there and watch a workout. Tell a guy what you thought about them during the season, and just honest opinion. Those guys don't get enough honest opinions out there, right? So there's always an opinion with something attached to it. Most of us don't give a fuck about none of that. We just want you to be the best player you could be, period, right? Because we know when that St. John shit is over, what life is like as a professional, especially when you're not a lottery pick. We already know. We've been there. Everybody's been there. We know those questions. We know when you look out that window, you're like, oh shit, I got 7 players ahead of me. How the hell I'm a leapfrog everyone? So we do need to have those conversations with these young guys and empower them with information and with confidence so that they can continue being a legend away from St. John's, but related to St. John's.
Yeah, it's important, man. It's intrinsic. I can't even tell you like the mental improvement that I had on the game by having players like Walter Berry and those guys around us. Jason Williams. It was just like instant feedback, and game by game, like, yo, you doing this, or you do this. Malik was my teammate, man. He gave me a valuable thing as far as just knowledge, as far as like he was telling me about running the court. He was telling me how, I think I was like jogging one time and he was like behind me and he was like, listen, man, you got to run the court. 1, so you can have a better chance to get the ball and score it easy. 2, draw the defense and move away so the next person could come. If I'm behind you, I can get the easy layup. You just can't be thinking about yourself or whatever mindset you're in. You're jogging. So that stuck with me. I was going into my junior year. Oh no, going into my junior, going into my senior year. I think it was like the first year he came back from Indiana. I was probably going into my senior year, and that stuck with me as far as for the rest of my playing career. Run the court as a big man. I want to get an easy bucket. That's the ways I can get an easy bucket. And as I got into the pro setting, I got better and better at that. I'm out. That ball, if I don't get the rebound, which I would like to think of myself as a really good rebounder, but if I didn't get that rebound, I'm out. and I'm ready to get that ball for an easy dunk or easy putback and get myself going and something for my team. So that knowledge from alumni, people who've done it before you, is very important. And I hope, I try. I was around this year a good amount, and I hope that in the future, just being around more, and not in a way to like smother these kids in any way, but they need this. They need that knowledge. They need people like us, me and Ty, and others to be around, just because we've been there before. That's just what it is.
And neither of you, as Ty alluded to, are coming to them with an agenda other than to help and to be supportive and be mentors.
Yes.
And the lineage here is a beautiful thing. And what comes with the lineage, of course, are great stories, whether they're St. John stories, whether they're New York City high school basketball stories, playground stories. And as much as I've loved jumping into this with you guys during the St. John's stretch run of the season, I'm super excited for the stories that are going to come with this show. So, really excited about what we're creating here on the Storm. Ruben Rivera, thank you so much for putting this together with Shawnelle, Tyrone, and myself.
Salute the
And
room, my man.
gentlemen, before we sign off, can you each shout out one St. John's alum who you can't wait to have on this show?
Shout out. So that's for me. It got to start
Mm,
with the world famous Walter Berry. For me,
mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm.
Walter Berry's been an intricate part of my life, without him even probably realizing. But the funny part about Walter is that I saw him at a game early in the season, and he was talking to me as if I was still that freshman kid from Brooklyn. And he was asking me like basic questions. Ty, you staying out of trouble? Ty, you good? Ty, you ain't getting into no bullshit out here, right? You still focused. And I'm looking at him, I'm like, yo, Walt, I'm a whole social entrepreneur out here on these streets. I get to it, baby. And he started laughing. He invited me to his house. But definitely Walter Berry. Some guys that had cool careers at St. John's. Mo Brown, because that was my mentor, my roommate when I first got to St. John's, and coming from them streets of Brooklyn and having another Brooklyn guy to look over me was very, very impactful for me, and it kind of like changed my trajectory in regards to becoming the best I can be. Mo Brown, after the second day of practice, I had an argument with the coach. Again, just being young, ignorant, and not giving a fuck. And Mo Brown came to me and said, Ty, if you continue to play hard and work hard, don't ever change your attitude or your opinion about where you stand in basketball. He said, I tried to fit in, and you see where I'm at now, don't fit in. And that kind of triggered me to always be myself. I don't think I would have changed too much, but Mo just confirmed to me that my way of thinking was the right way. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to Mo Brown. Love to have him on the show in store. But definitely Walter Berry. And we could get to him. We can probably, I'll probably be down there and get to sit next to him and have a conversation with him for the Storm. And we go from there. So, yeah, man.
I mean, come on. I mean, Walter Berry, come on. I mean, this list, it's just hard.
Yeah, it's
It's
hard.
just so hard, man. I have so many greats. I mean, look, I'm doing a show with Tyrone Grant right now. So, I mean, that's for me, that's big too. But I think my personal favorite, and there are many others. I have two. So my personal favorite, my first one will be the great David Kane, New York City legend. He was my point guard. He's a point guard. I played with him for 3 years. He was my college roommate. Very close. Grew up a block away from each other. But as far as the basketball impact, I think as a player that I played with, I think he probably had the greatest basketball impact on me. And this is throughout the NBA overseas, and I played with Ty overseas, and that was great too. But David Kane in college was huge for me because as close as we were with each other, I mean, we were very close. I'm the one who took David Kane to the Gauchos, but he ended up being this great player his senior year, first team All Big East. We was finished second in the Big East, but he gave me the mindset to be better. Like I remember, like having a conditioning drill, and I don't know if I went out the night before, I was feeling like crap, and we were running the steps. So I'm just like, I'm not running steps today. I can't. So we about to leave. So David Kane said it's so simple. Oh, nah, fellas, no, we're not leaving yet. We waiting. I said, "Hey, what we waiting for?" "Oh, yeah. We waiting for Shawnelle to run his steps." And I'm like, "Oh, this dude is ruthless. He don't care." So I just ran the steps. I didn't want to hear his mouth. and we just left like nothing even happened, you know. And that showed me like how serious he was to have. And we had a great year that day, like unexpected great year. First year, Louis Conaseca leaving, and we had a great year this year because he made me mentally like become a better player. And I can never. I love David Kane so much. Like we like brothers, and I can't wait to have him on the show. But another person, I didn't play with him, but another person I want on the show is I'm looking forward to is Tariq Turner. That was Tyrone's roommate, but Tariq Turner is the mind. You know, I want to pick into his mind. He's definitely been around the program, like enthralled in the program for years as a broadcaster, but just part of the program. And just to hear his insight of everything is kind of special to me. I mean, and I'm not like Tariq. I recruited him when he came to St. John's. I was his host. And I like over the years, it's not like we speak every day or nothing like that. But I respect him so much, and I consider him like my little brother, but mentally he's like the big brother, because he's always thinking. So
Yeah.
I'm definitely interested in Tariq Turner. So David Kane and Tariq Turner are ones I'm interested, but there's so many others, and we're gonna have so many others. I mean, Ty just mentioned Walter Berry. That was one of mine. I love Walter Berry so much. But it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be exciting to have these former players come and chop it up and talk about the old days and talk about the present times, and we bridging the gaps. And that's going to be so enriching for me, man. And I can't wait.
It will be basketball on the court. It will be New York City off the court, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s. I'm really looking forward to this. I want to shout out everybody who has shared our content, liked our content, engaged with our content in a very short amount of time. Obviously,
Yes.
I wish we had gotten together in November, but things happen for a reason, and I'm grateful to be on this ride with you guys. Thank you, Ruben Rivera. Thank you, St. John's Nation.
No doubt.
Thank you, Shawnelle. Thank you, Tyrone. This is The Storm. Appreciate you, gentlemen. This is The Storm. We will be back very soon. We're going to get this all-star lineup of interviews set up. Keep an eye out for that. And obviously, even though St. John's is out of the tournament, enjoy the rest of March Madness and the NCAA tournament. And we will be back with a new episode soon. Follow us on social at The Storm NYC on Instagram and YouTube. And we will be also launching the episodes on audio-only platforms soon, which we will share, of course, on social media as well. So if you are an Apple Podcast listener, a Spotify listener, etc., you'll be able to have the audio-only of The Storm. So thanks, everybody. Be safe, and we will catch you soon.
Johnny Nation, hold your heads up. Johnny Nation, hold your heads up. We will be back.
New York, stand up.